Why Putin cannot be trusted on security guarantees. August 19, 2025. Over the course of a single meeting with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump has rewritten the West's agreed strategy for ending the war in Ukraine. The US president has signaled that he now accepts the conflict can only be settled on Russia's terms. He has dropped demands for a ceasefire, abandoned threats of sanctions, accepted Putin's preferred sequencing, and appears to have given tacit support to the Kremlin's territorial claims in eastern Ukraine. Amid the wreckage of last Friday's Alaska summit, European leaders heading to Washington on Monday are clinging to one potential upside: Washington's assertion that Putin no longer opposes Ukraine receiving robust Western security guarantees as part of a peace deal. Steve Witkoff, Mr. Trump's peace envoy, hailed this as a breakthrough. "We agreed to robust security guarantees that I would describe as game-changing," he told CNN. "It's the first time we have ever heard the Russians agree to that." Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, concurred, calling it a huge concession. For Ukraine, such security guarantees would partly compensate for giving up its chief strategic goal, NATO membership, with its mutual defense clause, something Russia has long opposed. Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, has floated a fudge NATO-style guarantees without NATO, which the Russians appeared to accept, according to Mr. Witkoff. Putin even suggested enshrining in Russian law a pledge not to attack Ukraine or any other European state, he said. But Ukraine and its European allies will be wary, as Putin has long ignored Russia's legal provisions. Article 353 of the Russian Criminal Code, for example, threatens prison sentences of up to 20 years for any leader who wages a war of aggression. History, too, inspires skepticism. In 2014, Russian forces promised safe passage to encircled Ukrainian troops in the eastern city of Ilovaisk, then ambushed and massacred them as they withdrew under a truce flag. Guarantees are needed precisely because Russia's word is not trusted. If the Kremlin has indeed agreed to them, Mr. Witkoff would be right in heralding a breakthrough, but if Moscow has consented to NATO-style assurances, a troubling question arises: why would Putin accept in practice what he rejects in principle? There could be two explanations. Either the Americans misunderstood what was on offer in Alaska not for the first time, critics would argue, or the Russian proposal does not equal the sum of its parts. Ukraine has been offered worthless assurances before. Under the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, Britain, the US and Russia promised to guarantee Kiev's security in exchange for surrendering its nuclear arsenal, but the assurances were vague, unenforceable, and ignored when Russia invaded. A similar formula might suit to Moscow again, particularly if it is named co-guarantor and is granted the power to veto Western action. Russia could also insist on reciprocal guarantees, letting it justify aggression against Ukraine if it claims NATO is threatening its security. On Monday, Mikhail Ulyanov, a senior Russian diplomat, hinted at such terms, saying on social media that Moscow expected to receive efficient security guarantees of its own. Little wonder that Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, is pressing for clarity when he meets Mr. Trump later on Monday. There are no details of how it will work and what America's role will be, what Europe's role will be, he said. "We need security to work in practice." Desperate to prevent a repeat of Mr. Zelensky's humiliation at the White House in February and to contain the fallout from Alaska, Sir Keir Starmer and 4 other European leaders have hastily rearranged their schedules to join him in Washington. By The Telegraph, story by Adrian Blumfield, August 19, 2025.